Welcome back. You're with us here on Countdown. Markets today looking fairly cautious. We're down about 100 odd points on the Sensex as we speak. It is expiry week. Traders are expecting trade to be fairly muted today and of course for the rest of the week as well. Varun Goel now joining us as well, Assistant Vice President, Fund Management Division, KC Securities. Varun, a very good afternoon. Markets, how are they looking to you, Varun?
Good afternoon, Abha. I think we are trading close to the fair valuations on a 12-month basis. I think the current valuation is almost discounting 15 times FY12 earnings. Whatever result season that we have seen so far, I think is more aligned with the expectations for this quarter. We're expecting a 22 and 25% earnings growth, which I think more or less has come in so far. I think the key thing to watch out for would be the Fed meeting on 2nd and 3rd, but because that's going to decide the direction of the liquidity in the shorter term. So I think going forward, that is one big event to watch out for.
All right, Varun, let's just take a look at what's putting pressure on the index today. And one area is definitely banking, whether it's HDFC, SBI, ICICI, even some of the heavyweight PSU banks like PNB, they're all coming under pressure today. How are you looking at the banking pack right now?
I think if you look at the results season, the best results have continued to come from the banking space. From whatever results we have seen, I know most of the private sector banking players have shown very robust fee income growth and net interest income growth. I think 20 to 25% kind of growth you would still expect on a year-on-year basis in most of the private sector names. I think some of the PSU bank names have also done quite well. Despite a sluggish credit growth environment, most of them have increased advances by 20 to 25% and even more. So I think this is one sector which clearly stands out in terms of the performance, and I think as infrastructure capex catches up, the growth is only going to increase. So we continue to have a very big overweight on the banking space as a whole.
Right. What about mid-cap picks in the banking space, Varun? A lot of them have been buzzing lately. Even today, a Dena Bank, a UCO, a Vijaya, they're all up in trade.
Well, I think if you look at the PSU bank stories, I think earlier there was a big discount that was being given to PSU banks primarily because of the inefficiencies and lack of internet banking, and so all these things. I think last couple of years we have seen first led by larger cap PSU bank names. They became more efficient, they were connected, and the service quality improved. And now I think it's the turn of the mid and even the smaller cap PSU banks which are seeing huge increases in inefficiency, as a result of which we see their return on equity levels increasing with every passing quarter. I see no reason why we should not have increased price by book multiple most of the mid and small cap banking names. So I think selectively there is still upside left in the mid cap PSU banking names.
All right, so that's your outlook when it comes to those mid-cap PSUs. OMCs, Varun, curious about really what's happening there, because for a while in the middle it seemed to be everyone's blue-eyed sector or the space that everyone was expecting to really pick up. We had all kinds of aggressive targets coming in on those counters, have been fairly lackluster of late. Do you feel perhaps that the buzz is gone, or you feel they're just taking a break?
I think if you look at what the OMCs have been doing, I think it's a very welcome sign to see that they have been revising petrol prices. I think the bigger concern was whether the so-called petrol deregulation would actually work on the ground, and we clearly see signs of that working. Now I think further re-rating of all these stocks is possible only when we see a complete diesel deregulation which has been promised by the government. I think there will be a small window after the Bihar elections where the government can possibly push in for a complete diesel deregulation. Although I must say that diesel has a far more impact, bigger impact on inflation as compared to petrol prices. So it would be very interesting to watch what the government intends to do. In the absence of any diesel price deregulation, there is no upside in most of these stocks.
All right, while we're on the oil and gas space, I'll also get in your call on Reliance, Varun, but a quick mention on the news coming in on your screen. We have had Ramalinga Raju's bail has been cancelled. Remember, he is the main accused in the Satyam scam and has been asking for bail. It has now been rejected there by the court. So that's the big news coming in at this hour. Of course, the CBI has been pushing for his bail to be cancelled, considering they have been saying that that would impede investigations going ahead, and finally that decision coming in this afternoon. Mahindra Satyam, that counted down about 0.5% in trade today. Varun, we were talking about the oil and gas space and Reliance Industries. Reliance has been itching to hit the 1100 mark. How soon do you think we're going to see it do that?
I think if you look at Reliance, I think we clearly see a lack of growth driver, at least from a medium to shorter term perspective. I think what has happened, if you look at the three main business segments, be it refining, the refining margins have been struggling for quite some time, and we see clearly overcapacity in the refining space in this part of the world. So I don't think we are going to see a very significant revival in refining margins. Diesel spread, kerosene spreads were probably the biggest driver of the increase in Reliance margins in the last cycle, which clearly are languishing. So that's one part which is definitely not doing too well. If you look at, they have been struggling to, find out new growth opportunities. There have been ventures in telecom. They have made some acquisitions outside, but we still haven't seen, how the exact strategy pans out and how the growth outlook could be like in a couple of years down the line. So I think till the time we have either an acquisition or a new strategy which is earning accretive, I would think Reliance would tend to stay in a band, and we would tend to stay away from the stock at this point of time.
Okay, SPL come out with its numbers, Sterlite and JSW, we just heard them speaking as well. What's your outlook on the metals pack?
I think on metals broadly one needs to be very selective in terms of what one is investing in. I think if you look at the non-ferrous space, the demand still continues to be muted. Therefore, I would expect, since China continues to be the biggest demand driver for metals, and China continues to show signs of slowdown, I would expect the prices of non-ferrous metals to remain in a certain range. Therefore, I think companies in that space might struggle as far as realizations are concerned. As far as the ferrous space is concerned, I think the demand for steel remains very robust. You're seeing a lot of demand coming from automobile space, consumer durables, and also infrastructure. So I think as far as the domestic steel demand is concerned, we continue to be quite positive, and all those companies which are levered to domestic demand should continue to do well in the medium to short term. I think seasonally for companies based out of Europe, seasonally this is a weaker quarter. So therefore the results would be weak, which is more or less in line with expectations, but you would expect them to catch up in the remaining quarters of the year.
All right, we do have Mr. Maru on the week. We'll wait and watch and see what can we expect further there. Varun, I know you said that you were being cautious on the markets, but going ahead, do you still expect them to be touching those new highs anytime soon?
I think if you look at from a purely fundamental perspective, the market is trading close to very close to the fair valuations. You will not expect a very significant upside from these levels, but then again, liquidity has its own sense of direction, and we would wait for what Fed has to do on second and third before taking a call on that.
All right, Varun, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Great to have you with us, and we leave it there on Countdown. Let's also just quickly give you an excerpt also from some of what the Finance Minister said earlier on today.